Could someone wake up tomorrow with only 30 days to pack their life into a suitcase? Could a hard-working parent, a devoted student, or a long-term resident find themselves suddenly barred from the only home they've ever known? Imagine the alarm clock's shrill ring vibrating through a small flat in East London. A skilled worker stirs, bleary-eyed, anxious. The morning light filters through thin curtains, revealing a letter resting on the kitchen table. It's not a bill or a routine notice. It's the Home Office's new deadline: 30 days to leave the UK. In that moment, a lifetime of effort crumbles into panic. It feels impossible to catch one's breath, let alone make sense of the nightmare that has just begun. Across the country, families share the same dread. A nurse who has tended patients through endless shifts, a cafe manager whose warm smile greets regulars each morning, an engineer who designed bridges that stand as testaments to human creativity. None are immune. New government data reveals that over 2 million people could face this terrifying countdown under the 2025 immigration rules. Tightened salary bars, steeper fees, swifter deportation powers. Each policy weaponizes paperwork against the very souls who contribute to society. The question echoes in every heart: is my right to stay worth less than a few missing pounds on a payslip? The government claims these rules will streamline an overloaded system and protect public funds. But behind every statistic lies a person uprooted, a family fractured, a dream deferred. This is not abstract policy. It is raw anxiety pulsing through communities, whispers in living rooms, tears shed in quiet corners, and it is happening now, not in some distant future. Every new clause, every revised threshold is more than legal text. It is a potential guillotine hanging over someone's life. Stricter salary requirements have become the first gatekeeper. The threshold for a skilled worker visa has surged to £38,700 sterling, 0 pence per year, an almost incredulous leap from the previous figure. Care home assistants, hospitality staff, junior tech employees. Many find themselves stranded below the new bar. Earning just a few £100s under the target can trigger visa denial or forced departure. Employers scramble to adjust pay scales, but not every company has the budget or the will. Lives are reduced to numbers on a spreadsheet, fall short, and the door swings shut. Graduate dreams have been dealt a savage blow with the end of the post-study work visa. International students who once relished 2 full years to secure employment now face a tight 60-day window after graduation. No grace period, no safety net. Those precious months of networking and trials are slipping away, replaced by a countdown clock. A talented designer without an immediate sponsor, a budding researcher whose project drags on. Both could see their UK chapter end before it really begins. Family reunification, once a path, albeit rocky, for loved ones to join each other, has narrowed to a razor's edge. Sponsors must not only meet the new salary bar, but prove 5 years of sustained income stability. Temporary contracts and freelance gigs, once accepted, now look like red flags. Couples must furnish layers of proof: joint accounts, shared leases, overlapping travels. Anything less is grounds for rejection, and the emotional cost is immeasurable. Application fees soar like runaway trains. Renewals, extensions, settlement applications, all have become premium services that few can afford. A basic skilled worker visa climbs from £625 sterling, 0 pence, to nearly £820 sterling, 0 pence. Partner visas breach £2 sterling, 0 pence. Families find themselves facing a bill that can exceed £10 sterling, 0 pence, before health charges, biometric appointments, or priority services. One miscalculated fee, one late payment, and the application collapses without warning. English tests, once a formality for some, are transforming into formidable barriers. Advanced proficiency must be demonstrated in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. No allowances for years of lived experience. Each exam costs up to £300 sterling, 0 pence, and preparation classes add a further burden. For many migrants, juggling living costs, housing, and childcare, this requirement is one test too many. The shortage occupation list, a lifeline for critical roles, is being slashed. Care workers, chefs, lab technicians, roles vital to daily life are stripped of easier visa routes. Employers face a choice: either recruit locally at greater cost or leave vacancies unfilled, jeopardizing services Deportation powers sharpen to a blade. Minor offences, even driving infractions, can trigger immediate proceedings. Detention without court hearings for up to 60 days becomes routine. Appeals, once a safeguard, shrink under new public interest priorities. One missed letter, one clerical error, and a person's right to remain vanishes. Renewing a visa becomes a gauntlet of documentation. Employment gaps over 30 days lead to instant refusal. Financial records must cover entire visa periods. Criminal background checks and language certificates must be updated, no matter how recent. Submit late or incomplete, and the countdown to departure begins. Asylum seekers face an accelerated system designed to deter. Claims must be lodged within 30 days, with rejections rendered in 10 working days. Mandatory detention, no right to work, limited legal aid, each measure ratchets up pressure. Genuine refugees risk being swept away by the tide. Finally, the health surcharge climbs to £1,500 sterling, 0 pence, per adult, per year. Families pay tens of thousands upfront for NHS access, on top of full taxes and contributions already paid. It is not a contribution, but a double levy, punishing those who may never use the service. These changes are not isolated tweaks, they form a relentless machine aimed at driving people out. Each rule, each fee, each test is another gear grinding down hopes and livelihoods. The message is chillingly clear. Only the most affluent, the most privileged, can survive this new landscape. This video is a call to awareness. No person should be reduced to line items or subject to arbitrary deadlines. Behind every application form is a human story, a dream, a family, a future. These reforms threaten to tear those stories apart. To stay informed and prepared, it is essential to engage with community legal clinics, employer support networks, and advocacy groups. Share this video to spread the word. If you're directly affected, document every interaction, seek expert advice early, and gather every piece of evidence of your contributions and ties to the UK. The reality is the UK's immigration system is not just shifting, it's undergoing a full-scale overhaul that's leaving thousands of people uncertain about their future. The new deportation powers introduced as part of these changes have put everyone on edge. In the past, minor infractions, things like not paying a speeding ticket or accidentally overstaying a visa for a couple of weeks, would likely just result in a fine or a warning. However, under the new system, any criminal conviction, no matter how small, could potentially lead to deportation. It doesn't take much for someone's life in the UK to be upended. The government argues that this is necessary to maintain the integrity of the immigration system, but critics argue that these new powers will disproportionately target immigrants, making them vulnerable to the whims of an overzealous immigration enforcement system. They also warned that these measures could lead to mass deportations based on minor technicalities or political motives, further fracturing families and communities that have lived in the UK for generations. Under these rules, a person's entire life could be thrown into chaos over something as simple as an unpaid fine. Imagine being a migrant who has lived in the UK for 10 years, built a career, and perhaps even started a family, only to be deported because of a mistake you made years ago. That's exactly what could happen now, as minor offences can trigger deportation. There is no grace period or opportunity for a second chance under these new rules. You could lose everything in a blink of an eye. There is, however, an alternative that's available to some, but it's not a simple fix. People facing deportation can appeal, but these appeals are often long, expensive, and filled with uncertainty. Legal costs will rise, adding yet another financial burden on people who may already be struggling to make ends meet. Plus, with no guarantee of success in these appeals, the psychological toll could be far worse. The constant anxiety of wondering if your next mistake, however small, will be your last, can lead to a sense of despair for many migrants. On top of this, we're seeing a significant rise in surveillance and monitoring, not just in terms of immigration status, but in terms of monitoring individuals through electronic systems. If you're an immigrant living in the UK, you might soon find that you're under constant watch. Every move, every transaction, and every interaction could be scrutinized by the authorities. There will be more requirements for proof of your ongoing residency, and failing to keep track of paperwork could trigger severe consequences. The administrative burden will be immense, with people constantly required to update their status, provide evidence of employment, pay taxes, or prove that they haven't violated any terms of their visa. The push to monitor immigrants this closely is driven by the government's desire to control immigration numbers. But it's creating an atmosphere of fear and suspicion. Many people living in the UK may feel like they have to walk on eggshells, always worrying about the smallest mistake leading to deportation. Additionally, there is growing concern over how the government's tightening immigration rules will affect public services. Immigration contributes greatly to the UK economy, and many sectors rely heavily on migrant workers to function. The NHS, for instance, would struggle to operate without its migrant workforce. Many social care facilities, retail businesses, and hospitality industries would face severe shortages if migrants are pushed out due to these new rules. The government insists that the new policies are aimed at improving the quality of immigration by prioritizing those who contribute to the economy. However, this oversimplified view fails to recognize that many of the people being pushed out have been an integral part of the UK's success for years. The longer these policies are in effect, the more likely the UK will see a brain drain, where the very people who keep the country's vital industries running are pushed to leave. Imagine what would happen if essential workers, caregivers, restaurant workers, teachers, or even tech employees are forced to leave their jobs and livelihoods behind. These sectors could come to a standstill, leaving citizens and residents without crucial services. Moreover, this could have wider economic repercussions. As thousands of workers and their families are forced out, the UK could see a drop in consumer spending and a reduction in tax contributions. Migrants spend money in the local economy, contribute to social services, and play an important role in keeping businesses afloat. A mass exodus could create an economic vacuum that is not so easily filled by domestic workers, as the UK struggles to attract new talent and maintain its existing infrastructure. Another critical factor in all of this is the long-term impact on the UK's reputation globally. In a world that is increasingly interconnected, nations must be careful about how they treat migrants. Countries that are seen as hostile or discriminatory towards immigrants could find themselves ostracized, not only in diplomatic circles, but also by the global workforce. Businesses looking to expand may shy away from a country with an immigration system that makes it difficult for skilled workers to enter or stay. Universities and research institutions may also lose out on international talent if students feel that the UK is no longer a welcoming place for them. What's perhaps most alarming about these immigration changes is that many of the rules are not just targeted at new arrivals, they affect people who have already been living in the UK for years. For those who have called the UK home for decades, the idea that they could suddenly be forced out because of bureaucratic red tape or a small technicality is enough to drive anyone into a state of panic. It feels like the government is closing the door on those who have already built lives, homes, and careers in the UK. It's a betrayal of the very people who have helped the nation prosper. But these individuals, finding themselves in a position where they are no longer wanted, no longer welcome, can be devastating. People who have put down roots, started businesses, raised children, and established themselves as part of the fabric of the nation are now at risk of being told, "Sorry, you're no longer needed." The emotional toll of such uncertainty can be crushing, especially when the country you've called home your entire adult life suddenly seems like it's turning its back on you. As these new rules continue to roll out, it's critical to consider the voices of those who will be most affected. Advocacy groups, human rights organizations, and even the migrants themselves are speaking out against the harsh nature of the new immigration policies. But the government, so far, seems unwilling to listen, pushing forward with a strategy that seems increasingly out of touch with the needs of the people it is supposed to serve. It's not just about the individuals affected by the immigration rules, it's about the broader community. A country is built on its people, not just its borders or policies. By shutting the door on so many individuals who contribute positively to society, the UK risks dismantling the very diversity that has made it a leader on the global stage. The changes in immigration law may seem like a victory to some, but they come at a great cost. If you've found this information useful and eye-opening, make sure to stay updated on how these new changes could impact you and your loved ones. Don't let yourself get caught off guard by the shifting immigration landscape. Like, comment, and subscribe. to stay informed. Your future in the UK could depend on it.